mocked or admonished for the size and complexity of my working vocabulary.
I love what this creator has to say. I encourage you to watch her full video because not only is it something that's not often discussed, but it was highly relatable for me personally as well. Let's unpack it. My name is Mariana. I'm a first generation professional and certified coach helping other first gen pros and 21st century leaders navigate complex career environments. Last week, I did a video about how the way a person speaks can influence emotion bias and how emotion bias intersects with other biases in the workplace, and how these biases unconsciously uphold hierarchical cultures based in white, upper class, patriarchal norms. Someone commented on that video inquiring about how emotion bias might affect autistics in the workplace differently, given the tendency for many to perceive autistics as having a more restrained and emotionally detached style of communication. As a coach and former talent development executive who has worked with many professionals who identify as being on the spectrum, there is some truth to the perception that autistics can seem to demonstrate less expressiveness in their verbal delivery, i.e., tone and inflection. And this can give them an advantage over the hidden curriculum of unwritten rules that conflate a lack of emotion with professionalism, leadership strength, and authority. But there are other downsides that neurodivergent professionals can experience with regard to communication styles in the workplace. The one most commonly cited is that a flat, emotionless communication style implies a lack of empathy. But one challenge I almost never hear spoken about is what the creator here addresses, which is possessing an extensive advanced vocabulary. The creator describes how it can be more difficult for autistics to conjure simpler words to replace the ones that come more naturally but are more relatable to neurotypical audiences. The glitching effect that she describes when this process is forced to take place is very real. You might have noticed I've been reposting clips of the recent podcast that I did with Dr. K, and you can actually observe when this glitching is happening with me in real time. Now, as a child, I was hyperlexic. Reading emerged as a splinter skill for me very early. I was reading little golden books independently by the time I was 3. And by the time I was 5, I was reading story time to my kindergarten peers regularly. By the time 4th grade rolled around, I had a precocious vocabulary that was on par with an 8th grade reading level. And not only was I often shamed for this by my peers, but I was also shaded a little bit by teachers as well, who I think felt I was trying to show off or something. And although pattern recognition is one of my superpowers, I was still surprised to find that I was experiencing these subtle resentments in the workplace arena as well. I've been accused of sounding arrogant or, having an air of superiority or trying to sound smart when all I'm doing is using language that I feel most accurately conveys what I'm trying to communicate. Neurodivergent folks often feel misunderstood in communication, which is why it's so important to us to feel like the words we're choosing are the best ones to relate what we're actually thinking. Now, it's fair to say that there's a lot of value for anyone in learning how to flex your communication style to reach a broader range of individuals. As an organizational talent development executive, it was my literal job to create learning experiences that took complex skills and concepts and distilled them in a way that was accessible and easily adoptable for anyone. But I think raising awareness of these neurodiverse communication challenges to normalize understanding of the range of neurodivergent communication characteristics. The first step for leaders and teams to strengthen inclusive communication is to model collective accountability. This means demonstrating the practice of withholding judgment while others are speaking and rejecting making reflexive assumptions about their character or intentions. If you found this interesting and relatable, hit all the buttons and follow for more.